Hello, this is Rhoda, and welcome to the Rhobin Nets podcast. Um, uh, my name is Rhoda. I live in Canada. I live with my husband, Sam. We moved to Canada 3 years ago, and just the move, feeling the weather, accessibility to good fiber got me started with crocheting. I moved on to knitting this year. So, this podcast and whatever videos I make would mostly be related to knitting, crocheting, some Tunisian crochet, sometimes embroidery, and hopefully sewing in it sometime in the future. So, if you were interested in any of these, if this is something you want to learn more about, or just hear somebody talk, or have somebody to give you company when you are knitting or crocheting, this is the right place, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Um, for this podcast, this is the first one I'm making. I started knitting only this year. I have been crocheting for a couple of years now. So just for the sake of this podcast, I've picked whatever I've completed in the last 10 days. So my hope is to do this podcast once a month because I don't think I have enough knitting content to put out podcasts every other week, but I'm hoping to do something every month. I want to share my finished objects. I want to share my works in progress. What are my knitting plans for the month? And then follow up the next podcast and see how far we've come along with each of that. So for this podcast, for this episode, we have three finished objects, two works in progress, and four knitting plans. So we'll go through them. I have picked out the yarns for my knitting plans, and then we'll talk about them as we go. So buckle up and we'll get started. So I thought we'll get started with the finished objects. Um, this Christmas, we decided that we'll send something to our parents back home. So I've got something from my mom, my dad, my sister, and I'll talk about each of them as we go. So this first one is the shawl. I made this for my mom. I had made a cardigan for her earlier, but she said she'd rather prefer a shawl, something to just wrap around. The place they stay in back home is not a very cold place, but the temperatures do drop to about 17, 18. The temperatures normally is in like the late 20s or early 30s. That's what the temperature in Celsius is like back there. So in winter, that's just about December and Jan, the weather drops to about 17. I think late December and early Jan, if it rains along with the winter, it might even go down to 9. That was the lowest it went to last year. So it is pretty cold for them. And she just wanted a shawl to wrap around and stay warm if she's sitting and watching something or reading something. So I did make this for her. So this is made with three different yarns. I've actually just put them together from different projects. They're actually leftovers from different projects. If I can't remember what the yarns are, I will tell you what they are. So this is what the shawl looks like. So there's this, and then the middle one is a cream yarn, and then there is this yarn at the end. So I'll start with this. This is yarn from Rhobin. It is called the Winter Glow. I am just trying to pull up the colorways. So this is Winter Glow from Rhobin. There are two different yarns. Actually, the yarn is supposed to be worsted weight, but the yarn fiber is not consistent. It's very thin in some places, very thick in the others. And I was using a 5.5 millimeter needle, and I couldn't work on it holding one yarn single. It was more meshy, and I knew it's not going to be very warm, so I held two yarns together. So one of the yarns is they don't have colors, but I think it's number 17, and the second one is 27. 17 has curry, steel blue, mustard colors, and also some lilac. And the number 27 is more neutral, so it has naturals, beige, and gray sand colors. So I've held both of them together. So this is what I got. Um, the second yarn is actually a leftover from one of from a kit that I had used last year. It was a Tunisian crochet scarf and hat pattern by TL Yarn Crafts. Her name is Tony, and so this is leftover from that project. This is Lion Brand's Heartland. It's cream color. It's got a few strands of nice brown in it, but I do not know the colorway in particular. And this last one is from the same yarn line. It's Lion Brand, 100% acrylic Heartland, and the colorway's name is Grand Canyon. um Yes, so I just did a simple garter stitch. Like I said, I used the 5.5 millimeters. I started with this yarn. This yarn is, I think, 49% wool and 51% acrylic, or the other way, but I know it's 49-51. Um, and I couldn't do it with the steel needles. So I changed to bamboo needles. It made a big difference. My knuckles and wrist stopped hurting after I changed it to the wooden needles, and I wish I'd done that earlier. So I worked the rest of it in the wooden needles itself. For the edges, I just used whatever yarn was left. I cut it into equal lengths and made the fringes. So it adds a little flair to the shawl. So this is gonna be very comfortable, cozy. My mom is a very petite person, so even if this looks short on screen, I know it's gonna be okay for her, and I know she's gonna be happy receiving this. So this is my mom's shawl. My next finished object is from my dad. It is the Jason's cashmere hat. It's not made of cashmere yarn. It's made of superwash merino, knit picks swish DK. I held it double. This again was tash yarn. They were leftovers from a sweater I made earlier this year. Um, but it's soft. After it blocked out, it seems really nice. I didn't make a double folded brim because I know he's gonna wear it under his helmet. He rides a motorcycle to work, so if I had the double folded brim and he was wearing it inside his helmet, it's gonna be very tight and uncomfortable. He might not hear sounds of other vehicles around him, and yeah, so I avoided making the double band. I avoided making the folded brim, double band. I avoided making the folded brim, so this is for him. When I knit for my parents in particular, or if I'm just gift knitting, and I know these are people who are really busy, they are either having kids or going to work. And they're not gonna have time to hand wash. I also don't want them to be burdened about feeling that, oh, this is a gift knit, this is something my daughter made thinking of me, and I need to keep it really safe. I don't want them to think that way. I want them to use it happily without worrying too much. So every time I knit for them, I usually pick acrylic or superwash, so they could just throw it in the wash and sun dry it. They do not have dryers back home, so they can sun dry it and it's going to be okay. So I hope he enjoys this. I like the color. This colorway is called Rainforest Heather. It's very beautiful. It has this teal foresty green. It's got some purples and brown fibers in it. It's a very, very beautiful color. And yeah, I think I'm going to knit with this color. If I ever knit with a DK yarn again, and I would pick a superwash merino. I think this is my go-to yarn, and if I know somebody likes green, this is my go-to color. This is a very, very beautiful color. Um, the next one, before I talk about this, I'll talk about a little yarn order I made at the beginning of this year. Surala yarn. Most people would know about Surella. They usually have an oopsie sale. I guess it's about twice a year or once a year. And these are yarn that have been dyed. They don't look very different to me, but it has not passed their quality check, so they sell it at a discounted rate. So I picked three different yarns from them. One was a sock yarn. So this is merino and silk base. It's a sock yarn. I held that yarn double to make this hat. This is the classic ribbed hat from Pearl Soho. It uses 3.25 millimeter needles. Um, the pattern is free, same as the Jason's cashmere hat. The pattern is free. Reminds me again, for my mom's shawl, I didn't use a pattern. I didn't do a gauge swatch, nothing. I just put it together and um, went on with how much ever yarn I had. And then when I ran out of yarn, I stopped. So this one is a free pattern. This one is a free pattern as well. This is for a toddler we know. So her sister is going to turn a year older in January. I wanted to make something for the sister, but I thought I'll make something for her as well, so both of them get something at the same time and they do not feel left out. I have some more yarn left, and I'm going to make the same hat in a bigger size for the other child. But this is the classic ribbed hat, and I picked this unicorn from a dollar store and put it on. Both of the kids love unicorns. They have unicorns on their shoes, their water bottles, their bags, most of their clothes usually are this colored. Their winter jackets as well, I've been noticing, is it's got a little purple and pink in it, so I'm sure this hat will go well with that. So this is my third finished object. For my works in progress, I have two. I usually have three things going at the same time. One is usually a complicated knit. It's either a cable or it is a textured knit or something with a different construction. It could even be something that I have to knit and purl, so like a cardigan. And that's usually one project. The second project would be something that is a mindless knit. If I'm watching something, if I'm in meetings, I usually knit on this and just round and round. I don't have to think too much about it, so it's a mindless knit. And the third one is usually a portable project. So this could be a hat, a sock, or something that I could carry with me when we are traveling in transit, or if we are driving and it's a long drive, or on Sundays when we go to church, I usually carry it with me, even if we are in conversation with somebody or we are having lunch, and it's socially acceptable for all of them. They know that if they are having me around, I'm going to be knitting, and they're very understanding about it. It also helps me to stay focused on the conversation, not get distracted, not pick my face, not be fidgety. So having a portable project is definitely useful. So my last portable project, this was my last complicated project. This was my last portable project. Now that both of it is done, I am going to look at um, um, I'm going to look at casting on something that's portable and that's complicated. Now for my works in progress, the first thing is a cardigan. This is something I made for my sister. The pattern is, it's called the Madeline Jacket, and it is by Somin Kim. Um, this is one of the Oopsie yarns from Surella. Um, it's a DK cashmere blend yarn, so it's superwash merino and cashmere. Um, she had given two colors in this bundle. So one thing about the Oopsie yarn is you don't get to pick your colors. You can give suggestions about what kind of colors you want. I said I wanted something with greens and browns in it, and they bang on delivered. Um, so there were two different yarn skeins. One was this and the other one was this. I cast this on when I was a new knitter, and so you would see that it's blocks, and then it gets better. This is when I learned how to alternate yarn skeins, but over here I was a new knitter and it's just blocks of yarn. So this colorway, the Oopsie yarn, also does not come with labels, so it does not tell what colorway it is. But this colorway, I looked up Surella's Instagram and I figured that it's Bryant Park. It's a very pretty colorway. It's got some browns, mauves, there's green, there is some mushroomy brown, um, a little peach pink. So it's nice. It's very nice. It's a variegated yarn. This one is a tonal, and I am assuming that this is the wine bottle. So Surella last December released just two colorways. One was wine bottle and another one was wine colored. I don't know what it was called, but I'm assuming this is the wine bottle. So I decided that these went well together and I cast this on. So when I started, like I said, I started with just the green and then I changed to Bryant Park. I thought I'll do blocks, but then I realized it's simpler to just alternate yarns, and then I went on to alternate yarns. I did show this to my sister. She said she likes it, and her hair is gonna cover the top half, so she's absolutely okay with it. So this is what it looks like. It's got some slip stitches, and that was a new technique for me. It's got some slip stitches, um, some flower motifs, not color work, but these are wrap stitches. And the pattern also had a tutorial that you can follow to make these flower motifs. Um, she wanted it cropped, so I've made it cropped. I'm yet to block it. I'm yet to weave in my ends. I've got a lot of ends hanging around. I've got to weave in the ends and block it and then sew the buttons, and I should be done. I don't think I'll have the finished object by the next podcast though, because I am going to be shipping it to them by then. But I'll make sure we take pictures and I document it so I can share and talk a little more about what the button process looked like. This is the first time I'm ever going to sew buttons onto a cardigan, and I feel like I want to do it because it's something different I haven't done before, so I'm looking forward to it. Um, the next work in progress is a Tolsta tea. I made one before, but it was a gift knit. So this one is particularly for me. Um, this is what it looks like. Um, so this is actually marled using um, two yarns together. So I had two skeins of this yarn from Knitpicks. It's Knitpicks Hawthorn. It is a fingering weight yarn. This colorway was called Elliot. So that is the Elliot colorway. It looked beautiful in the skin. It had some yellows, greens, teal, blue. But when I caked it up, I didn't like it as much. Um, And so I felt it was too bright. It's not my kind of color, and I wanted to make it a little muted. And so I decided to hold it along with Knitting for Olive Merino. It's a fingering weight yarn, and this is the colorway Dusty Sea Green. So what I did was, for the ribbing, I've just held Knitting for Olive double, and for the rest of the body I held one strand of Knitting for Olive and another strand of the Knit Picks Hawthorne Elliot. Um, so the ribbing is done with 4 millimeter needles, and the body is worked with 5 millimeter needles. It is a very quick knit. I am working on size 4, um, and there's not much to tell about it. Tulsa, I feel everybody knows about it already. Um, this I'm a beginner knitter, and this is already my second, so I feel this is a very, very good knit for people to start with. I also like the colors because this year I've also been learning about what warm colors are and what cooler tones are. I realize for my complexion it is more flattering to wear warmer colors, and I feel that this green, like the green I'm wearing, is more of a warmer green. Green is one of my favorite colors, but finding the right shade of green that suits my complexion is something I've been thinking about. These are not things I normally think about, but this has been something that's been on my mind after I started knitting, because if I'm going to invest time and money and make something for myself, I might as well make something that suits me really well and has a lot of thought put into it. So that is my tool star. As of now, I have put the bottom of the body on hold because I ran out of the first skein of the Elliot yarn. So I put the bottom on hold, and I'm going to start working on the sleeves. And once I finish both the sleeves, I wanted to go a little past the halfway mark of my arm. Once I finish both the sleeves, I'll see what's left of the yarn, and I'll use that for the body and then bind off. So that's my plan for the Tolsta. I intend to wear this on some high-waisted pants and also on some dresses, summer dresses maybe. Some of my summer dresses do not have sleeves on them. While it's absolutely okay, it does get a little chilly. If we are in a public transit, the air conditioning is usually really high, and I'd rather have something warm. And I have two summer dresses that are green, so I'm hoping this goes with both of them. And that's gonna help with some layering. Um, that's about my works in progress. I want to talk a little about my knitting plans. Like I said, I have 4 different projects that I've planned. Um, I'd ideally like to finish them by December, clear my needles, and have a fresh start next year. So the first, I've kept all my knitting plant yarns in this basket, so I'll just talk about them quickly. The first one is a Wrap Me Up scarf sweater. This is by Knitatude. She this scarf sweater looks really pretty. It has sleeves, and then the rest of it is just, there is a sleeve, so the sleeve part is like a tube, and the rest of it is knit flat, and then there is a sleeve on the other side. I looked up a few videos of how to style it. It looks really pretty. I think one of the pictures on Ravelry, someone had actually worn it for their wedding, and it looked beautiful. But this one that I'm knitting is for a friend of mine who's pregnant. She's expecting in February, and she's got this sash. She's got a good fashion sense. So I want to actually make this so she could use it while nursing as well. To cover up while nursing. So these are the yarns. This is hand-dyed yarn, 100% superwash merino, again because it's a gift knit. It's for a new mom and I don't want her to worry about washing it. So this is from a hand dyer. Her name, I don't know her name, but I know her yarn company is called A Chick That Knits. um if I find her name, I'll put it down in the description. So this was actually a fade. So this is Merlot, this is Nighthawk or Nightshade, I don't know, most probably Nighthawk. And this is doe skin. So this is the fade. This actually is cake. These are two skins that are caked up together. When I first started my Madeline jacket for my sister, I actually used this yarn, but this is just not her color, and she didn't seem very excited. When I switched to the green, she really liked it. So I took this apart, I frogged it, and I caked it back. I'm gonna use it in this scarf. So that is the Wrap Me Up sweater scarf. It's just one size, and the ribbing is with, it's DK yarn. The ribbing is with 4 millimeter needles, and the rest of the scarf is 5. So I'm assuming it would just fly off my needles. And it's also gonna be, this is gonna be one of my mindless knits. I'm just not gonna think too much about it. So this is going to replace my toll style once I've finished it, and this is gonna be my mindless knit. For my portable knit, now that I do not have any, I finished my hats. I don't have a portable knit. I am going to start the penny gloves by Petite Knits. This is my second, yes, this is my second Petite Knit pattern for this year. I know I like how she writes her patterns. I like all of her designs. They're beautiful, but I also want, since I'm a new knitter and I keep hearing about petite knits all the time, I want to try and explore other designers as well before I get comfortable with just one kind of pattern writing and then I do not explore anything else. So yeah, I want to keep my mind open that way. So this is again Suralla's yarn. This was ordered last year. This was an order placed by mistake. Last summer she repeated the colorway this summer, but last summer she had this colorway called Jardin. It was a very pretty green. It was a perfect definition of what a spring green would be like. This is a very muted version of that because of course it's on Suri. Um, I wanted the color really bad, and I wanted to order it, but it was out of stock. Um, and I did not know the difference between fibers. I didn't know what fingering DK worsted Suri was. Um, I just saw Suri sock. I didn't know what Suri was. I just figured that someday I might knit a sock, and I got the yarn. This was the only base that was available. Everything else was sold out. She restocked later, but then I already got this. So I've had it in stash ever since. But after I got it, I realized I really dislike Suri. Even when I wind up the yarn, it makes me sneeze all the time. It makes me very uncomfortable, and so I've been trying to cover my either wear a mask or cover my nose when I wind the yarn. But I'm hoping with knitting it wouldn't be that bad. Fingers crossed. So I want to make the penny gloves with this. Now, the reason I picked this is one, penny gloves uses a 3 millimeter needle, and this is more of a sock yarn. It's closer to sport weight and not fingering. So I wanted to use this for the penny gloves. Also, the people I'm making for, I think they're gonna use this more indoors than outside. Um, because they sit near the window while working, and I know it's pretty cold even with the heating on. Their house in particular near the window is really cold, and I know that's where they sit, and they like wearing mittens, fingerless mittens while working. So I'm gonna make this for them. The petite knit pattern says they need about 35 grams for a pair. This is a 100-gram yarn, so I'm hoping it goes, I can make two pairs out of it and then give it to the couple so they can have matching mittens. I'll just make a little difference. I'll maybe put one small different thread, or make a small difference in the cuff or something, so they know which mitten belongs to whom. But that's my second knitting plan for this month, and that's going to be one of my portable ones. The third one is this hat which I showed earlier. I'm gonna make a second version, so the third plan is that. And like I said, this is Surala yarn silk sock. I'm gonna hold it double and make another hat a little bigger size so it fits this kid's sister and they don't have to fight about the hat. I do have another unicorn. The mane and the tail are different colors, so they will know which hat is whose again. Yeah, and I like this pattern because it's super stretchy and I don't have to really worry about it. I know it can go a long way. And I also made it a folded brim so they can lower it down as they grow. So it might at least be useful for a couple of years if it does not get lost, or if it's used well. So that's my third knitting plan. The last one is by a designer called Emma's Knits. I don't think she has a podcast, but I follow her on Instagram and she's got very pretty designs. She also makes jewelry and stitch markers. They're very, very pretty. I'm gonna tag her. I'm gonna leave her information under this video so you can look her up. There is a new sweater that she has been designing. It's called the Hepatica sweater, and it's knit with DK yarn. It looks like it's brioche. Um, I'm not sure. I've never knit brioche before, but it's been on my list. I really wanted to learn how to knit brioche. I like how the fabric feels. I like how squishy it is, and I know it's gonna be warm yet light. So I really, really wanted to try brioche. Now the yarn for that, I'm going to use Knit Picks Twill fingering. It is 100% superwash merino. I'm gonna hold it double as the main color. It's a striped sweater. And then I have some mini skeins that are more autumnal, and I'm going to use that as for the stripes. Now here's what I have. This is kind of what the sweater's color palette would look like when I ooh, that's the wrong side. This is the right side. So this is actually Tunisian crochet. If you look at the stitch pattern, you'll know it. I did, I don't know what you call that. Join as you go. Okay, so I did the first block and then I did this. I finished the whole column and then I did the second column and I kept attaching it to the first column as I went. The idea with this was to make a sweater. This was a self-designed sweater. I just wanted to make something that I could wear. I really like the colors. I like the autumny colors. Along with this the twill fingering. This colorway is called Horacha Heather, and I got this on a sale last year from Knit Picks, and I couldn't find the color again this year. I do have enough to make the sweater, but I've lost steam on this project. So I'm going to frog this. I'm going to take it apart and use this yarn for my hepatica sweater. The deadline is end of Jan, so I know I have enough time. I'm going to start with my first three projects. The mittens are going to finish relatively sooner, and so I'm going to have time then to dedicate to this project. And I should be done by mid-Jan, hopefully, fingers crossed. By mid-Jan, I should be done, and I can give feedback on the pattern. The finished sweater on Emma looked beautiful, and yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm excited also about learning any new techniques that comes with it. So far, I've actually worked only on raglan sweaters. The first ever knit item I made was a tank top, and that's the only one where I actually knit the back panel and then knit the front and join them together in the round. But other than that, all sweaters I've made have been raglans. So I'm looking forward to working on a different construction, working on stripes, a different knitting method, and I'm really, really excited about that. So those are my knitting patterns for the rest of the month. I am hoping I get it done. Um, I also have a full-time job, so I'm not sure with like the year end what it's going to be like. If there's gonna be more work or it's gonna be a little lighter. The last year it was lighter, but this year I can see some extra work coming up. So I'm not sure how it's going to go, but based on how things go, I want to at least do an episode of the podcast once a month because I feel like I have so much to talk about knitting, and no one in real life over here actually knows to knit or is interested in hearing about knitting. I know my husband tolerates me, but I'd like to talk to people or get involved in community where everyone's so excited about knitting. And I find the knitting community to be so kind and helpful and pleasant, and I really appreciate that. Um, so I'm hoping to put out the next episode by the first week of Jan. If I can, I want to make a video about everything I knit in 2023, just as a journal, just as a knitting diary for myself to see what patterns I had tried, and if I have courage to try something new. I want to try color work. I'm going to try stripes for the first time now. I want to see if I like, if I want to see if I have the courage to do something more, and if I'm going to try, if I'm going to like something, a different design of sweater, a different way of making it, a different stitch, if I'm gonna like it more than just simple knit raglan sweaters. So I don't know what the next year holds for me when it comes to knitting. Until then, until I come back with my next episode of more knitting content. I'm hoping I also have an embroidery content. Until then, I hope you all stay well, stay warm while enjoying the holidays, and happy knitting, everybody. Bye bye.